Hi, I'm Dana Arnone, and welcome to Senior Care Matters, the show that guides you through today's challenges of aging with clarity, compassion, and confidence. From essential resources to real-life solutions, we bring you everything you need to know to navigate life as a senior in today's world. My name is Dana Arnone. Believe it or not, I once dreamed of a career in fashion journalism, but life had other plans. I became a registered nurse and eventually the owner of a home health care agency in Long Island, New York. Now, I'll be honest, some days are hectic and sometimes I just want to scream, but my mission and my passion is what keeps me going, helping seniors navigate the chaos of aging in today's world. Every day I see the challenges our seniors face, and it drives me to fight for change, because no one deserves to face the end of life alone. After all, sooner or later, we will all be seniors. So come join me on this journey where we tackle the tough questions, uncover the truth, and fight for the dignity, fairness, and justice for our aging community. Welcome to Senior Care Matters. Today in Senior Care Matters, our guest is Brian Andrew Tully. Brian is the founder and managing partner of Tully Law Group, one of New York's leading elder law and estate planning firms. Practicing since 1998, Brian is a certified elder law attorney and nationally recognized advocate for seniors and their families. His firm is known for its innovative life care planning approach, which combines asset protection, Medicaid planning, and care coordination. Brian is the past president of the Life Care Planning Law Firm Association, a super lawyer for over a decade, and frequent speaker and author on elder care and estate planning issues. Welcome, Brian, to the show. I have to tell you, I've been looking forward to this conversation. You know, I do really respect and admire the type of business model that you've created for your law firm. I align myself with it. And I really want people to understand that, you know, the type of firm that you have not only does the estate planning and Medicaid, but you do a lot of hand-holding, and I think that that's very important.
So a basic plan, a foundational plan as we call it, will certainly include that will that people are concerned about, but it also deals a lot with incapacity as we age. So you mentioned the power of attorney document. A power of attorney document is where you can pick one or two people to help with legal and financial decision making, generally if you can't do it yourself. The power of attorney in a lot of the states is just very general, so the power of attorney usually has to be beefed up a little bit and modified and made more comprehensive for aging and for elder care issues. So that's going to be probably the most important planning document there. If there is no power of attorney in place, or if the power of attorney isn't done properly, then the family can end up going through the court again in what's called a guardianship or a conservatorship proceeding. And the families want to avoid that. We want to keep our families out of the courts all the time. So proper power of attorney, then you have your healthcare documents, because there may come a time when you're unable to make your own healthcare decisions. And having a healthcare proxy, or what's sometimes called a durable power of attorney for healthcare, is essential so that you can have the right person making the right decisions for you.
So, you know, one of the questions that we get a lot in our office is when they call up, they say, I don't qualify. That's the biggest conversation I think I get every day is, you know, we talk about private hire, we talk about this, and then we talk about, well, have you thought about Medicaid? Because the long-term private pay scenario is not in most people's, you know, thought process. So what would you say to someone that says, my mother doesn't qualify?
Yeah, so great question. I would just take a step back. So I think it's important for families to realize that there's two actual care systems out there. There's your healthcare system, your medical care, which is your doctors and your hospitals and so forth, and that's generally covered by Medicare and your health insurance. On the other side of that coin, though, is this world of long-term care. And long-term care is something people generally don't think about, but it has to do with everyday living and your activities of daily living, like walking and bathing and toileting. And if those needs start to arise, we then have to realize and talk about how do we actually get that person help so they can remain as independent as possible, as safe as possible in their home. Our goal is always to keep our families together in the home as long as possible. So often an aide would need to be employed to come in, a home health care aide would come in and help with those activities of daily living, which then leads to the issue of, well, how do we pay for this? Different parts of the countries, these costs can vary, but here in New York, a home care aide can be anywhere from a couple $1,000s a month to $10,000, $12,000 a month privately paying. So that's something families do in the beginning, but often the reality hits that grandma doesn't have that kind of money, or dad doesn't have that kind of money to pay. $100,000 a year for care. So what other alternatives are there? Some families and individuals have what's called long-term care insurance that can pay for the care, but most folks end up relying on what's called long-term care Medicaid, which can help with that aid care in the house, can help with the nursing home bills if that scenario becomes necessary, but there's a whole eligibility requirement. But when we're talking about the asset eligibility, the house is something that is confusing for a lot of people, especially here in New York, because the law actually says a Medicaid applicant can keep the house in their name, but that's not a good idea. So what happens is if a Medicaid applicant keeps the house in their name, there's a good chance Medicaid could put a lien on the property or recover against their estate later. So what we often do for healthy folks in their 60s is we start looking at how can we protect assets such as the house in case they need long-term care help later, and we want Medicaid as an option. And that's where this irrevocable trust comes in. Medicaid has the right to look back at all of the asset transfers and transactions and protection steps for 5 years prior to entering the nursing home. So a typical example I give clients is if mom gave Stephen, her son, $150,000 in 2023, but we need a nursing home in 2025, there's that 5-year look back all the way back to 2020. So that asset protection step or benign gift, mom thought, is going to be penalized because it happened within the 5 years of going before into the nursing home.
Yeah, that comes out. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I know that comes up a lot, and I'm sure someone's thinking about this. Like, if someone gifted $150,000 within the last 3 years, do they have to give that money back? Like, who pays that money back?
Yeah. So if we find ourselves in a situation where there was gifting and protection
Which is most
done,
of the time.
Yeah, during the look back period, and again, in New York, this is still just the nursing home scenario. In other states, it applies to home care as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so Florida, for example, they have a 5-year look back for home care and nursing home care. So if gifting's been done, again, whether for Medicaid eligibility purposes or for non-Medicaid eligibility purposes, that can result in a penalty. And the way that you undo the penalty is by giving the money back. Now, 2 problems with that.
No one's giving the money back.
Well, they spent it on Disney and a new bathroom, right?
Yeah.
When it goes back, if they have it to give back, now the person, the applicant has too much resources in their name, which leads to a whole nother planning strategy. Again, different states handle it differently, but when an applicant has too much money, there is a way to protect generally half of the assets when we're applying for nursing home.
So the rules are halves. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back with Senior Care Matters after this.
Every day, home health aides travel miles across our city to care for seniors who depend on them. But too often, long commutes and poor transportation keep them from reaching those who need them most. At All Things Home Care, we're changing that. By providing subsidized rides, we take the burden off caregivers so they can focus on care, not the commute. Because when caregivers are treated with dignity and respect, our seniors stay safe, cared for, and never alone. Join us in supporting the people who care for our loved ones. Learn more at allthingshomecare.org. Body by Peter offers a premier at-home concierge service specializing in empathetic lymphatic massage and blood circulation enhancement. We provide a range of therapies, including red light therapy, wood therapy, body sculpting, and lymphatic detoxification. Our professional and compassionate approach ensures a rejuvenating experience in the comfort of clients' homes. Servicing Manhattan, Queens, and Long Island, New York. Call today, 516-509-3825. At Reliance Home Senior Services, we believe every day shines brighter at home. As a licensed New York State-based agency owned and operated by a registered nurse, Reliance brings over 20 years of experience and personalized care right to your door. Our certified personal care and home health aides assist with bathing, grooming, dressing, medication reminders, light exercise routines, and to accompany you to appointments, all while offering companionship and a safe, caring presence. Need help navigating Medicaid? We're here for you. Our team of registered nurses and social workers offers in-home geriatric management, so both you and your family can breathe easier. And with 24/7 on-call support, bonded and insured aides, and a custom plan of care crafted just for you, we bring peace of mind right into your living room. Reliance Home Senior Services, bringing comfort, independence, and trust home.
We all say, today is the day that we tackle the organization of our homes. The day gets further and further away, but the job never gets smaller. We can take the headache out of planning and doing. We start with a free consultation, create an action plan, and bring you the space and peace of mind you need. We help with home decluttering and organization. Restore your home to a place of comfort. Call today, 516-322-2613.
Welcome back to Senior Care Matters. I'm your host, Dana Arnone. Let me ask you, if someone has a house within that 5-year period of time, and they didn't, or they transferred the house, but it's within, the nursing home gets the house?
No, thank God. So it depends where the house went. Okay, so. And people will say, well, if I did it too late, or if I have too much money, doesn't the nursing home just take it?
Yeah.
The answer is no. What happens is the nursing home will just deny you, or Medicaid will deny the payment to the nursing home. And the scary part there is the nursing home bill is accumulating month after month. So if a house was transferred or money was transferred too late, it's something that we have to try to fix. Are there other assets that can pay for the nursing home during the penalty period? So the whole process can be about 4 months, all right? And they have to pay out of pocket during all of that.
And we were talking about this before, that New York State used to reimburse people, but they're not doing that anymore. So people can't count on getting reimbursed.
No, unfortunately, in a home care setting, Medicaid is not going backwards to pay the family. Now, that's where nursing homes are different. If the applicant, mom, for example, is already under $32,000 and we don't have any penalties because of that asset protection transfer, then we can actually apply for Medicaid, and Medicaid will pay backwards in a nursing home.
To the nursing home.
To the nursing home
not
only.
Not to the families.
To the nursing home. So what we're looking at is if mom comes off of rehab, let's say on the 15th of the month, and she's already, as of the 1st of the month, under the $32,000, and there's no asset planning or protection penalties, then Medicaid will start paying once the application is approved from that 15th. Okay, so the way I put it to families, the nursing home is a harder decision, but it's generally better financially if the person can be eligible sooner. Community Medicaid is usually ideal. We want mom home, but you got to pay out of pocket until we can get the services in place.
So what do you suggest people if they say to you, because I know that it comes up every day, mom doesn't have the money. And then I get so angry. I have to tell you, Brian, I really get angry. They have a house. You know, technically it's your mother's house.
That's right.
So I always say, pull the resources from the house, or pay for the care. So that's people don't like me for that, but that is actually the truth. But what do you suggest to people?
So there's a reality to that, because usually there's children involved as well. And I'll say probably 40% of the time, the children are not only helping as caregivers and coordinating all this, but they're helping financially as well. And we can come up with different payback agreements so that if one child, let's say Susan, is paying for all the care while this is happening and building up, we can work it out when the house is ultimately inherited, Susan gets paid back. So there is equity in the home that can be used. Perhaps children have resources that can help, but if mom needs the help, then you need to spend the money. And it's not the children's money yet.
No.
They tend to focus on that, and sometimes we deal with scenarios where children feel entitled to that, which is a whole nother conversation. But it's mom's money, let's use it, let's pay for the care, let's make sure she's getting the best care possible. There's no perfect answer.
But I think what your point to what you're saying is it really does lead back to the fact that people should be talking to an estate planner, talking to an attorney, so that you don't have to deal with those situations.
Yeah, I on that note, if I may, be very careful who the family reaches out to, if I could talk about that for a moment. I've written articles about this. There are different types of attorneys out there. As you said, there's many areas of law. There are those attorneys that specialize, just like doctors, right? You have your neurologists, you have your podiatrists, they specialize. Then you have your generalists. Same thing with law. So you can have a general practice attorney that does a little bit of real estate, a little bit of criminal law, and they say they do elder law. You have to be mindful of that. You always want to make sure that the attorney that they're sitting with is experienced in this. Talk to friends, talk to family, read reviews online, ask professional resources, because we've seen families go to attorneys that don't really know this as well as they should. And I have a team of 30. We got 30 folks working on this stuff every single day of the week, because it is that complicated, and it's all we do.
Well, not everybody's situation is the same. It's not like you're going to meet somebody that has the same. It's not a cookie cutter kind of type of job.
Not at
and there's
all.
a lot of counting involved in all this too. But you know, I think one of the things is that when people hear elder law, they think elderly, and it shouldn't be elder law. Maybe we should rebrand it. Like, no, I'm serious, because I think when people hear elder law, they think, oh, you have to be old to go to this lawyer, but they're not thinking that old can be 57, or I don't know how old you are.
55.
Oh, 50. I'm older than you.
Yeah, just a little.
Okay.
So the reality there is our firm, and some firms do this, but we tend to cover the spectrum a little deeper, is that there's an estate planning component, which is generally younger folks, but there's always the elder law component. So the reality is when we're doing planning for couples 40s, 50 years of age, we want to keep the end in mind, because at some point there might be a long-term care need. Folks, I think it's 70% of us over 65 are going to need some type of long-term care. So is it a conversation with a 40-year-old saying, consider long-term care insurance? Because
are you suggesting long-term care insurance to your clients?
I'm suggesting it for clients that are going to be able to qualify for it medically and will have the assets to pay for it. Okay, because I don't know what Medicaid's going to look like 20 years from now or 30 years from now when we get there. And I'd rather have a family or a client that
I
can
own
actually...
a home care company, so
You'll be good.
I'll be good.
And my daughter's
I'll help you too.
My daughter's in nursing school, so I should be
you'll
good too,
okay,
as long as I can get her back from Florida.
Yeah, okay, I don't think so.
So the reality is that insurance is a solid option if you can qualify and if you can afford it.
Yeah, because I thought like most people were moving away from long-term care insurance because the cost is it's expensive.
It's very expensive, which is why I use that as a qualifier. But gratefully, New York has finally allowed what's called a hybrid policy.
Oh.
So life insurance combined with long-term care insurance.
that.
So no matter what, the family's going to get the money back. All right?
Is that something your firm does or guides people with as well?
We can guide them and make recommendations to experienced financial professionals that work with those types of products.
So I want to touch upon, because you know, I know your firm, I'm familiar with it, and I think what your model is just makes, actually you took a lot of work off of my office because you guys do it all. But let's talk about your business model and why did you create the firm this way?
Yeah.
And how does it really benefit your families that you're taking care of? I think it's so smart, so needed, because on our side of home care, you know, we're doing the enrollment process, we're guiding people, but we don't sit with them. We don't have time to sit with them. You know, we do handhold a lot of the families, but we don't have the time like what you guys offer. So I would love to talk about that.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So I started practicing in '98. And the typical law practice for a young elder law or estate planning attorney, I was focusing on what I call the documents and the dollars, just really putting together the wills and the powers of attorney, protecting money. That's all what it was about. 2003, 2004, the years are going on, and I'm truly sitting with children and spouses, and they're there talking to me because they have to protect the house or they have to get Medicaid to pay. But when you look at them as a human, you look at them as a daughter, as a husband, as a wife, they're there because their loved one needs care. They're there because they don't know where to turn, and they just know or have been told they have to do A and B. So the reality is, as you start to peel back those layers, there's a need for care guidance, there's a need for care support, there's a need to make sure that loved one gets the best care possible. Mom and dad are more than just numbers and words on a paper, all right?
He's going to make me cry.
He is. It's mom and dad.
Yeah.
So we
or
want to
brother
make
or
sure.
sister. It's not always mom and dad.
Very true. And we want to make sure the loved one gets the best care possible. So back in 2005, 2006, I started just trying to build resources. And ultimately, I found what's called the business model called life care planning. It's a national business model. There's about 90 to 100 firms that focus on this exact type of practice, which is where you have your lawyers doing your lawyerly things. You're doing your trust, you're doing your Medicaid work, just like every other elder law attorney out there. But what's very different about us and our model is we have a care team on staff. So we'll have nurses, we'll have social workers and case managers, because that care need is what's, again, driving the situation. We want to make sure that the caregiver is avoiding burnout. We want to make sure the caregiver has a way to get some direction and some answers and support. But ultimately, we want mom, dad, sister, brother to get the best care possible. So the way we implemented that back in 2009 is by hiring our first social worker. And so every care case where we're helping somebody, it's not just the documents and the dollars. It's truly walking alongside that family, because we want that daughter to be a daughter once again. We don't want that son to be just a caregiver and resentments building and so forth. There's a lot of emotional dynamic there. So by us being able to bring in the advocate, they're coordinating the care, they're coordinating the benefits, they're coordinating the providers, they're advocating for their loved one and truly lifting all those care issues off of the child or the spouse, the sibling. But they need to stay involved, right? We're not able to do everything. We still need the family to be interactive and to help. But I have truly found that model is the future of elder law.
It has to be.
It has to be. So it's what we call elder care law. Yeah.
You know, the thing is that when we will help people do their appointments, and if people that know, they'll know what we're talking about. But if not, when you're applying for a community Medicaid, there are several appointments that New York State mandates.
Sure. 2
of them, if you can get a person on the phone, there's no way an 80-year-old can do it. I mean, I shouldn't say that blanketly, but they were going to need some help. It takes a lot, and I swear they do it on purpose, just so you give up. Because many people will give up. So in our office, similar to you guys, we guide them, handhold them. But the system is so messy, and it's so against the elderly that it's a program that's for the elderly. It's against the elderly. So for me, we do it, but I know that you guys do a lot of it, and I just want to make sure that people understand there's a cost related to what you're saying. It's not so everybody coming onto a Tully law that's applying for estate planning, and they don't get that service. But they want it. It's there and it's offered.
It's available.
Yes, available. Yeah. And I know that you have three people on that team.
We're fortunate now. So we have a geriatric social worker with over 30 years experience.
So
we have a registered nurse with nearly 30 years experience, and we have a case manager.
Yeah.
So it's the whole person, right? It's not just the legal, the financial, it's also the care.
Yeah. So would you say that that's what sets your firm apart from most other? I mean, right now you can throw a rock and everybody's an elder attorney. So, it's...
That's true.
No, it is true.
It's true. And I'll say gratefully some law firms, and some for years, have had a social worker on staff or a nurse on staff, but it's not the life care model. They're not the support. And when we come on board also, it's not a transaction. It's never a transaction. We've had clients as families for 10, 12, 13 years because we're not there just to get the Medicaid work and walk away.
No, I've seen that.
Yeah. So it's a very unique service. I truly wish more elder law firms would practice it.
Yeah. Well, that's nice of you.
Oh, sure. The more the merrier, because it's what families need.
It is what families need. They get lost in the shuffle a lot. And I know that, just speaking with your team at times, I know that they're pushing the families along. They don't understand a lot of these appointments are timed. If you miss this appointment, you just missed the whole month.
You can miss it.
You can miss it. And they're really keeping them in the loop and really moving forward. So I just think it's so smart.
Well, thank you.
Since we're going to be having viewership outside of the state of New York, most of the things that you're talking about is New York based. So the look back period, the long-term care community versus the long-term care, you're talking New York statewide.
So it's primarily New York State. So Medicaid is a federal program, and each state administers it differently. Generally, the 5-year look back is nationwide for nursing home care. Most states also have the 5-year look back for home care. New York is definitely an exception.
What do you think New York? Why?
Why is New York like that?
Yeah.
Political reasons. I just think it's a state where there's just more benefits available from a.
Yeah, but they're cutting them.
They are. They
so,
are.
I don't know. There's always been that thing. What?
We're playing catch up, to be honest with you.
Well, so we're always waiting to get that notice that the look back has changed for community Medicaid.
Yeah. So what's out there. So I said earlier clearly that there is zero look back for community-based Medicaid, and that's still true. We have good relationships with the different directors of Medicaid in the different counties, and we'll talk to them. And we've been told on the record that the look back period for community Medicaid is not going to start this year. So what happened was, back in 2020, Governor Cuomo signed into law a 2.5-year look back.
Yeah.
So 30 months. It literally happened just as COVID was getting worse and worse. So then the shutdown occurred. New York State never implemented that 30-month look back for home care. They threatened it in 2020, 21, 22, and then they finally put it on the back burner. They have implemented some changes to make community Medicaid entrance a little more complicated. For example, it used to be 2 activities of daily living were required in order to get into the program. As of last week, it's 3 activities of daily living.
Interesting.
So
I did
the
not
3
know that.
ADLs.
Are they any 3?
Any three.
So
Any three.
just for people, ADLs, bathing, dressing, toileting, meals, things like that.
Yeah,
So you have to have a need.
You do, you do. And the way
But
I
that
share,
makes sense, though.
It does make sense. And truly, when you have two, you probably have three anyway, so it's not going to be that much of a hindrance. But New York has been, I'll say, threatening in the lowercase with starting and implementing this 30-month look-back period. And this leads to what we were talking about before, is if we can get families to protect their assets and do the planning earlier, when they're younger, when they get that Medicare card, that would actually start the 5-year clock, and it also starts that 2.5-year clock for whenever New York actually starts the look-back period. So there's prudence in having the planning done, and it's also strategically smart.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest shout out for what we're talking about today is just planning, you know, and giving your office a call and just really starting that conversation, because if it does go to 2.5, you also don't want. People have to understand, too, is that they can call you to apply for Medicaid, but if they don't have that need, they're not going to get accepted. So applying is not going to help them.
No, you need the asset eligibility, the income eligibility, and the care need.
Yeah, because we've actually had people get denied.
Sure.
Not Medicaid, the care.
Yeah.
So they, you know, they went through the process, they got Medicaid, not realizing that, you know, that physical care, but now it makes sense if it's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just taught me something. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, and one more thing. So your family, anybody else getting into elder law? Like anybody no? They think they're sick of hearing it?
Interesting. I don't think they're sick of it yet. So I've got 2 older children. One's going nursing and one's in finance already. But I do have a younger one.
Oh,
so
there's
I'm
hope?
kind of planting the seed.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens.
Keep it going. Well, because listen, when you've been doing something so well for so long, it just my kids are in the business, and I'm so grateful for that, because, you know, I've instilled in them home care, you know, geriatric care. They have a respect for what we do.
That's right.
So, you know, just to keep that going with the young kids, I think is so important.
Yeah,
Very important. Well, it was a true pleasure. I have to tell you, I love the way, I love the model. I think it's good information for families. And if, again, the biggest shout out or the biggest thing that people should know is to start that planning early on. 65, you get the Medicare card, start talking.
That's right. That's the protection planning for sure.
So it's coming soon.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Well, I really did appreciate our conversation,
Thank you.
and I'm sure you helped a lot of people out there.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for watching Senior Care Matters. I'm Dana Arnone, and we'll see you next time.